Defense Chief Hegseth shared war plans in second signal chat, New York Times reports. A second signal gate has hit the timeline. Ladies and gentlemen, this man loves sending state secrets to people over Signal, to people that he should not be sharing these secrets with, people that do not have the proper clearance. Now, I personally don't care. I think it's quite funny, as a matter of fact, that these guys keep leaking details of their horrible plans. I care more about the fact that they have these horrible plans to begin with. That's what I care about. But once again, it is pretty funny that this administration keeps getting in its own way. Amazing. Breaking from the New York Times, Pete Hegseth shared detailed information about forthcoming strikes in Yemen on March 15th in a private Signal group chat that included his wife, his brother, and personal lawyer. The info included the flight schedules for the FA-18 Hornets targeting the Houthis in Yemen. Now, it's hilarious because, like, if you know someone with any kind of security clearance, you know that this is a big time no-no situation. It is very, very unacceptable to do this, and this would immediately revoke your security clearance. Like, this is something that would normally get you fired and possibly even criminal prosecution. But of course, we live in different times now. Here it is. Hegseth said to have shared attack details in the second signal chat. The defense secretary sent sensitive information about strikes in Yemen to an encrypted group chat that included his wife, brother, and people familiar with the matter said. Mr. President, a second signal group chat controversy has hit the towers. Nothing Pete loves more than slamming 5 to 10 beers for breakfast, driving to work, and then texting war plans to his brothers over a few fingers of whiskey. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth shared detailed information about forthcoming strikes in Yemen on March 15th in a private Signal group chat that included his wife, brother, and personal lawyer, according to 4 people with knowledge over the chat. Some of those people said that the information Mr. Hegseth shared on the Signal chat included the flight schedules for the FA-18 Hornets targeting the Houthis in Yemen, essentially the same attack plans he shared on a separate Signal chat the same day that mistakenly included the editor of The Atlantic. Mr. Hegseth's wife, Jennifer, a former Fox News producer, is not a Defense Department employee, but neither should be Mr. Hegseth. So, to be fair, like, I'm not defending this administration, but, like, it's not like Pete Hegseth is qualified for this job anyway. Might as well share it with everybody, you know? And I don't think that this will cause Donald Trump to fire him, considering the first one didn't cause Donald Trump to fire him, even though this actually increases the stakes a little bit higher than the previous one, because now, at least in the first one, they did not know, according to their defense at least, that there was a person that did not have any security clearance whatsoever in that group chat. In this one, Pete Hegseth knowingly is sending classified information to members of his family and friends. Who else has he sent this to? The intern that he wants to have sex with? Like, who else has Pete Hegseth sent the Yemen bombing detailed information to? It seems like everybody knew about it except for us and the Houthis. Just leak it next time in a more appropriate avenue, you know? Mr. Hegseth's brother Phil and Tim Parlatore, who continues to serve as personal lawyer, both have jobs in the Pentagon, but it is not clear why either would need to know about the upcoming military strikes aimed at Houthis in Yemen. The previously unreported existence of a second Signal chat in which Mr. Hegseth shared highly sensitive military information is the latest in a series of developments that have put his management and judgment under scrutiny. Dog, what do you mean? Unlike the chat in which The Atlantic was mistakenly included, the newly revealed one was created by Mr. Hegseth. It included his wife and about a dozen other people from his personal and professional inner circle in January before his confirmation as defense secretary, and that was named Defense Team Huddle, the people familiar with the chat said. He used his private phone rather than his government one to access the Signal chat. I don't know if I'm against it at this point. We might need this guy to give us more insight on how they're killing civilians in Yemen. Oh, I am unconditionally in support of Pete Hegseth doing this. I cannot stress this enough. And I've made this clear since the first time this became a controversy. I think that we are missing the forest for the trees. Now, I think it's deliberate that the media is missing the forest for the trees. They're deliberately refusing to reckon with the actual issue here, which is, why are we bombing Yemen to begin with? That is the real point of contention for me. We should not be bombing Yemen. As a matter of fact, we should be listening to the very reasonable, very moral demands that the Ansar Allah admin is doing, is engaging in. We should be listening to Yemen and saying, yeah, maybe Israel should cut it out. This is a consistent position that I've long maintained. I said, I like leaks. I don't care if it's because you saw massive harm being done to civilians at the hands of our military and wanted to blow the whistle, or because your Groyper Discord kittens were acting out of line and you needed to teach them a lesson. So, to me, I love this shit. I love these leaks. More leaks, please. Leaky faucet. I don't care. To me, there is a higher order of priority here, which is number one, why the fuck are we bombing Yemen? Number two, why are we bombing Yemen without congressional approval? It's a foreign nation, by the way. Like, there was a time and place when you had to get congressional approval for these things. Not that it matters, because, like, I don't think we should bomb Yemen at all. Number three, also significant. Why are administration officials using encrypted chat rooms to have these conversations? This is supposed to be done in front of some kind of accountability. Like, this is supposed to be done in front of people that are logging these conversations taking place so that there's a record of it. You can't have these private conversations on encrypted chat rooms. What are you, crazy? That's not allowed. That part is ridiculous. And also, by the way, illegal. That part is illegal. Now, it doesn't matter because the administration is never going to prosecute that sort of thing, but it is still very much not allowed. What the fuck? But this kind of stuff, Leaky Pete, Whiskey Dick Pete over here, engaging in personalized leaks of state secrets, I will say this much. This is good. This is like when Chris Murphy famously came out and was like, we tried to do a light coup in Venezuela, but the Trump administration was too incompetent to deal with it. And I was like, what do you mean? We tried to do a soft coup in Venezuela, Chris Murphy. Why is that good? Are you trying to make Trump look good? And that's kind of how I feel about this administration as well. Like, their incompetence sometimes gets in the way of their violent desires. And I like that. This is ironically what I mentioned before when we were talking about Pete Hegseth. I said, it's not the worst thing that you have an incompetent drunkard moron that is in charge of the Defense Department, because the Defense Department's output is overall very bad. And even the fact that he is a virulent racist and an Islamophobe isn't necessarily all that different from previous administrators of the Defense Department. I think that it's worse that RFK Jr., an anti-vaxxer who is anti-medicine in general, is in charge of the HHS than Pete Hegseth is in charge of the DOD, because this kind of shit will happen over and over again because of his incompetence. And I like that. If you want to understand, though, aside from like the incompetence of this administration and their Defense Department, there's of course more that we must discuss on the matter. Perhaps more importantly, aside from this kind of shit, is what the American government has been doing. The American government is doing what Israel's been doing in Gaza, but this time to Yemen. I'm going to briefly bring this up. I wasn't going to bring this up today. I was going to save it for Monday, but I guess it bears repeating. Ryan from Dropsite, Ryan Grimm, friend of the show from Dropsite, actually covered this. The American government two-tapped a place that they had bombed in Yemen. This is a direct, clear-cut, definitional war crime. Make no mistake. What that means is they blew up a site. They waited for first responders to reach the site, only to explode it once again.
There's a major event in Yemen yesterday that isn't getting enough attention. And that is that the United States claimed credit for the bombing of a major fuel depot. And the U.S.
So this right here is not allowed, okay, by international standards. Like, Israel has, I think, warped our perspective a little bit because they do whatever the fuck they want. And America also does whatever the fuck it wants. But under normal circumstances, this is not supposed to be allowed. You can't just like strike a fucking fuel depot. What do you mean? That's crazy. You can't hit civilian infrastructure on a foreign country that you're not at war with, that you talked about hitting on Signal group chats. Like, every part of this is ridiculous. Russia does this all the time in Ukraine. Yeah, of course they do. They're doing war crimes, chatter. That's my point. Yeah, I know. When Russia does it, it is also a war crime. And you know, when Russia does it, you know it's a war crime because the American government can't shut the fuck up about it.
The U.S. acknowledged in its statement from CENTCOM that the reason they attacked this civilian infrastructure is to deprive Yemen of the oil needed to run its economy and ultimately to make its economy suffer. Now, they also did what's called a double tap strike.
Yeah, by the way, I did get a Spectrum Business Service alert. It's so funny.
This is where, and this was invented first by terror groups. Israel uses it quite frequently. The U.S. Has condemned it when other countries and other terror groups have done it. But a double tap is when you first strike a piece of civilian infrastructure, and then you wait for the rescue workers to come save those who are burning to death, who are crushed underneath the rubble, and then you attack again, timed to kill those rescue workers. As a result, at least 15 paramedics have been killed in Yemen, and the images of people burning to death coming out of this U.S. terror attack are absolutely shocking to the conscience. Now, the U.S. on and off through 3 administrations has been alternately attacking or starving Yemen to no effect. The same government is in control now in Sana'a that has been for almost 10 years at this point. But this is not just an escalation, but also an admission that the entire purpose of this strike was to hit the civilian infrastructure in order to crush the economy. That is an international war crime of the highest order.
Yep. They've been targeting civilian infrastructure, but hold on, where is this? Trump has lost the plot. Below are the scenes from the aftermath of the violent U.S. airstrikes that targeted the Majal al-Dama cemetery in Sana'a earlier today. Not only this, but this was a cemetery previously targeted by the Saudi coalition in 2015. Strong evidence from this and other attacks that the U.S. is reusing the target banks of the Saudis to attack Yemeni civil infrastructure, no matter what comprises it. Yeah, but to be fair, as Sanaa Saeed correctly points out, it was most likely American targeting that gave Saudi Arabia those infrastructure targets anyway. So it's just, instead of outsourcing this violence to Saudi Arabia, we're doing it personally this time around. Instead of having Saudi fighter pilots fly our fighter jets with our guidance systems, with our target priorities, we're doing it ourselves. Bringing the jobs back home, baby. No more offshoring, only onshoring now. Anti-war Trump, by the way. Reminder, no one must ask why we're doing this, and that is because the Ansar Allah movement has correctly exercised its moral responsibility in the Red Sea by implementing a blockade on the Red Sea as long as Israel continues its genocide in Gaza. It is the correct thing that they are doing, and they are being endlessly punished for it.